This is Beyond the Belltower, where an elite group of North Carolina State University students give us a behind-the-scenes look at their steps to success and show us how they attain even their lofty goals. These students, who are in the top 10% of the country, are active in student support services at NC State, a nationally recognized program designed to provide support for low-income, first-generation college students. Nationally, this population has an 11% graduation rate within 6 years. The Student Support Services students surpass that rate each year and go on to become doctors, dentists, accountants, and engineers. They work at Google, Apple, and the NCAA. They have earned PhDs in Ivy League colleges. These students go well beyond the Belltower to reach this level of success.
Welcome to Beyond the Belltower. I am Riki Dows, and I'm here with Aalanah Valentine.
Hey, Riki. Thanks for having me today.
No problem. So, I just met Aalanah last week. She is a TRIO student. You want to tell us a little bit about your connection with TRIO?
Okay. So I've been with TRIO since my freshman year. So that was the fall of 2015, which seems like forever ago. But so I've been in TRIO since my freshman year, and then I've just really become more active within it within like the past like a year or two, just as I started like meeting with Sarah more and going to more events and everything.
So what would you want listeners to know about you? Just, tell them a little bit about yourself, what you're studying, things you do here at NC State.
Okay. So I'm studying sociology right now. I'll be graduating in December, and I don't really know what I'm going to do after it. I do want to like work with children in some way because that's something that I'm like really passionate about, working with children and underrepresented communities. So, something related to TRIO likely. I'm a laid back person. I don't know. I like to cook. I like to draw and just, have fun, live life, relax.
Yeah. I actually met Aalanah last week. We came together to kind of just like get to know each other and like learn more about each other's experiences in TRIO. Because for those of you who don't know, TRIO Student Support Services is a program at NC State for a very underrepresented community, which is the low income and first generation community here at NC State. And so the last couple of months or so, there have been like these surveys going out and like these podcasts that I've done previously with other students, just talking about struggles that like I wouldn't have even have known other people have gone through. Like my roommate Quayla, she had her episode come out, I want to say maybe the beginning of this year, around January or something like that. And she just kind of talked about her being homeless while here on campus. And just listening to her story and listening to so many other stories here on campus through this podcast has been like such a whirlwind for me, because I wouldn't have even known that there were people that went through things like that on this campus. And so TRIO worked with another organization on campus to do this survey for hunger and homelessness. And like there were a good chunk of students on this campus. Lord knows, I can't remember the number now, of course. Yeah. When I'm on the air, I can't remember the number. But it was like a good chunk of students on this campus who don't feel comfortable enough saying that they're hungry on this campus. If it wasn't for housing, they wouldn't have anywhere to stay on this campus. And so that's where the idea came about. One of our TRIO students, Lily Neal, she actually came up with the concept of coming out of the poor closet. And there are so many students within TRIO or not even in TRIO who don't realize that, they can share their experiences. They can come out as poor, and there's no shame in that. And I think that's something that a lot of students in TRIO or not that, they haven't learned yet. Yeah. And so I'm here with Aalanah just to like talk about some of those experiences and talk about shame and seeing like what we can do as a campus, as a community, as a whole, as a world, to try and figure out how to get rid of that shame. I just went on a tangent for a long time. This is a topic that I'm like super passionate about, so I just kind of went on for a minute there. But yeah, that's why we're here.
Yeah, definitely. One thing I just want to like start by saying is that, you know, I understand like where you were, or like the place that you're in, if you do feel like ashamed to disclose like that you are from a poor background, and just know that like you shouldn't be ashamed, because we're all here at NC State trying to get an education. And so, you know, you're here and we're going to love you no matter what.
Yeah. So have you had experiences like that where you've just like, you said that you knew, like you felt where they were coming from with like people who felt shame in sharing their background? Do you mind sharing some of those experiences?
Yeah, definitely. So like one of them that I was just thinking of is like, it's kind of weird, but it was like right before I came to college, or like just all throughout like middle school and like high school and everything. Like I would just sit and think to myself, like, you know, whenever I meet people in college, like they're probably going to have a bunch of money because like I just I had the ideas of like what people were like in college from like movies and stuff. And like, you know, of course in movies, everyone has money and can afford things. And I would just think like, okay, I'm going to have to come here and I'm going to have to like hide like my family from them. You know, I'm going to have to like hide that background. Like I'm not going to be able to like take my friends home to like meet my parents, because like I don't want them to see, you know, where I grew up and everything like that. So it's just like, I've always had that idea of like, I would have to hide a part of myself coming to this campus, because I knew that people wouldn't understand it. And I was honestly like, I just felt the shame from it. I wanted to hide it.
And like, I kind of felt like a similar shame. And these last few weeks, I want to say that I've tried to like maybe take that shell kind of off a little bit more, like get a bit more comfortable explaining to people like where I come from. But that hasn't always like, I haven't always been in that position. I've literally, from the moment I got here, felt like I can't tell these people about my family. Yeah. Like, people are like, why'd you choose NC State? And I'm just like, oh, you know, I had family that came here, lying out of, like, through my teeth. Like, no one in my family has gone to college before. I came to NC State because they paid for it.
Yeah.
Like, and I really feel what you were saying on, like, that whole, like, not feeling like you can't have friends or anything come over. It's like, the one friend that I've had come to my house since I've been in college is my roommate, and she's homeless. So I was like, honestly, I know she's not going to judge me. She knows where I'm coming from. But like, I grew up in the ghetto. So like, there are crack houses, like literally 3 feet down the road from me. You know, there are, you know, gangs and shootings, and like people think I'm joking half the time when I'm just like, I'm from the hood, and I say it, you know, nonchalantly, so maybe that's, you know, a tone thing on my part. But it's when I'm so serious when I'm like, I don't come from a pretty background. So I'm like, what am I gonna do when I like find friends here, if I find a boyfriend here or something, and it's like, I can't bring you home, my parents are gonna have to come up here.
Yeah. And that's actually, like, just going along with that, like, I had those exact same thoughts. Like, I would just sit there and think, like, you know, if I fall in love with someone, like, I'm really going to have to, like, hide that part of myself. And, you know, thankfully, my boyfriend now, he's from, like, a similar background, so I don't have to hide myself. But it's just, like, it's a very real possibility that could happen, because while we are all in college, not everyone has had like the same circumstances, and so they're not going to be as understanding as like I would be, or like as we would be with each other. Like they're just not going to understand it, you know. And
and that's something that me and Sarah Wright, she is my academic coach for TRIO Student Support Services. She actually got me integrated into TRIO really well. I'm really grateful for her for that. Me and Sarah were just talking about this podcast and talking about how other people will cast like their judgment onto a situation like that they have no idea about. Like, this is my world. You know nothing about it. And you sit there like, and not to shame anyone who has money, obviously, because like you obviously can't help your situation either. Like, you can't help that you were born into like a richer family or like a more privileged family, I'll say. But you can't sit there on your pedestal and look down at people and be like, well, why are you this way? Why don't you just do this? Why don't you do this? And, and I'm like, you don't understand. It's not that easy.
Yeah. And believe it or not, like, that does actually happen. Like, you would think that it wouldn't, but...
You would think on a college campus
yeah,
it wouldn't.
You would think. And, like, it's happened to me in one of my sociology classes, which were, like, that's the last place that you would think it would happen, because, like, in
the
sociology...
last place.
like, we're taught to, like, be understanding and, like, use your sociological eye to, like, understand, people and like think about their situation in the context of their life and everything. But yeah, it's like in one of my classes, I was just, I personally felt like very uncomfortable when we were talking about like food stamps and like SNAP benefits. And yeah, that's just that wasn't a good feeling.
You would think on a campus like this, where everywhere you turn around, everywhere, like every social media or Yik Yak, when that was around, like everyone's talking about being broke. Everyone's talking about surviving off of ramen and Hot Pockets. Like everyone on this campus talks about being a broke college student. And so you would think with that, like overall kind of like feeling of a campus, you would think that for someone who actually is living off of only ramen, or maybe don't even have enough money to buy ramen, or has to go to the food pantry every single week, you would think that people would be a little more understanding. But when you go to these sociology classes, when you go to these financial budgeting workshops, and you hear how people think and what they really think about you, because my family is on food stamps, like... That's something I don't like broadcasting, because the second I do, it's just like, get a job. Yeah. Why doesn't your dad? Well, my dad works. My mom does not. She's a very sick woman. Like she's older. She was a housewife for however many years. Who's going to hire her and for what? So like, yeah, we get food stamps, and yeah, I'm on Medicaid. It's like, but I don't like sharing that, because so many people are going to be like, well, why don't you do this? And why don't you do that? And people are, stealing from the system and X, Y, and Z. And I'm just like, you know what? I'm just going to keep this to myself.
Yeah. And see, like, number one, like, just going off of that, like, people that do have ideas and thoughts like that, they are honestly just like uninformed, because like it's been plenty of times where like I've had to like go on Facebook and everything, and I've made detailed posts with like screenshots from like the food stamps website and like government websites, good sources, and I went through and like highlighted, okay, these are the requirements to be on food stamps. You have to work X amount of hours. Like, I don't know, I just wish people would understand, like, no one is really like getting over on the food stamp system or the welfare system, like it's publicized. Like that really doesn't happen. It's just people, hardworking people that are trying to live. And the fact that like the minimum wage is very low, comparatively, like I believe is the equivalent to what it would have been in 1950. Don't quote me on that, but it's like the equivalent to what it was like decades ago. So it's like,
how do you expect someone to survive off of that?
Yeah, exactly.
With no help.
And living in Raleigh, too, like, rent is, like,
insane.
Expensive. Like, it's, like, you can't just go to work. You can work 40 hours a week, but at minimum wage, you're not going to make enough to, like, support yourself. And if you have children, that's even worse, because you have to support them. You have to buy clothes. You have to put gas in your car, and all of that is just a lot to do.
It's too much for you to expect someone to handle. And then when you take a young adult and put them in an even more expensive environment like college, it's like they don't know what they're getting into, especially if you're first generation.
Yeah,
especially if you're first generation.
I was going to say, like, one thing about being a first generation college student is, like, I personally, like, never had, like, my parents, they didn't go to college. And so I never had anyone to, like, tell me, like, okay, well, this is what you do. Like, this is how you use your meal card and everything. And so, like, honestly, when I came to college, I didn't know how to use my meal card. I didn't know how to, like, get on the bus or, like, any of that stuff. So I just used, like, whatever change I had. And I went to the vending machine in my dorm for, like, the first 2 days until my mentor helped me. And so, like,
yes,
it's, like, not having that knowledge is very hurtful, at the beginning stages.
I wish I'd had that knowledge. I tell everyone who will listen, I wish I knew about Trio my freshman year, because my freshman year, I struggled. I did not know how to use my meal card. I was like, what do I do? I can't eat. I don't know where to go. So I was like, I don't know what I'm going to eat the first night. I literally just didn't eat. And so I didn't know about Trio, so I didn't have a mentor. I didn't really know a whole lot about anything. And eventually I had like a band camp and they fed us there. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, oh, okay, tally's over here. I can just swipe my card. And I saw other people swiping their student ID and I'm like, that's what I have to do. Okay. And so, being out on my own for the first time was just kind of like a culture shock of its own. Cause like my family wasn't the best, like well off or anything when it came to money, but for my entire life, they take care of me.
Yeah, exactly.
And so I got on my own and like mom wasn't there anymore. Dad wasn't there anymore. And I'm just like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And I had to figure it out on my own because it's not as much as my parents love me and as much as they try to help me any way they can. They don't know how to help me. And every time I would call my mom and ask, like, I don't know what I'm doing. She's like, I don't know either. I can't just ask somebody. And I was so ashamed to ask anybody because I didn't want to look stupid and I didn't want to look poor.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely like difficult. And then like personally, I'm from a really small town where like, I'm pretty sure the NC State population is larger than the population of my hometown.
Oh, absolutely.
And so it's like I knew all of my teachers, like my parents knew them and everything. So like I always had that network of people where like, okay, if I don't know what I'm doing, like I can go to someone because like everyone knows everyone. And then when you come to NC State and it's like no one knows you,
yeah,
you know, and like no one that I graduated with came to NC State with me. I think a couple of people did, but they were in like a different program, so I never saw them or anything. And so yeah, it's just like difficult. And then like luckily that's where places like Trio come in because like they really will like pick up, you know, where you're missing those like personal connections. They will definitely take over in that area. Like I meet with Sarah like I meet with her often.
Yeah.
Like I will, if I'm in the office, like I'll just drop by and like end up talking to her for like an hour. And she's definitely like a very good resource. Like
I'm always talking to Sarah. Yeah. I'm like, who's ashamed now? I am not afraid to ask for help now.
Exactly.
But like my freshman year, I'm telling you, honestly, if I could just redo that year, I would, because that was like my struggle year. Mm-hmm. And like that shame that was just like associated with everything, with asking for help, with trying to figure stuff out. Like I was working, I feel like 30 to 40 hours a week my freshman year.
Same here.
Just trying to like make it. So almost half, maybe 3/4 of my check every week going back home and like sending it to my family because like they still have things they have to take care of. Like I knew I had to help in whatever way I could.
Yeah.
And so I was just working and literally going back to my room and then working and then going back to my room and then occasionally going to class. And so hanging out with a group of, I guess, I don't really even want to call them friends because I just had them around because I didn't want to be by myself.
Associates.
Yeah. Yeah, just hanging out with people that didn't understand where I came from at all. It was a church group, surprisingly, you know, the people you think that won't judge you. It was like a group of girls from a church, and I, needed that spiritual support at the time. I needed to be surrounded by, people of God and like to help me like push through. Cause I'm just like, Lord, I don't know how I'm gonna make it through this year. Mm-hmm. And this one girl, I was like working and I got off of work at 4:00 that morning. I had to close up and everything, walk back to my dorm because what is a car? Walk back. And so by the time I got back to my room, it was like maybe 5:30, 6:00. Church that morning started at 7:30. I wasn't going that day, obviously. And so I'm just like, my head hits the pillow and then I get like a phone call from this girl and she's just like, hey, where are you at? And I'm like, I'm not going. I'm going to sleep because I just worked a 12-hour shift. Like, I'm going to sleep.
Yeah.
And she was just like, in front of people, mind you, because she's at the church,
wow.
like with the people in the background. People are wondering, like, hey, I can hear them in the background. Like, where's Riki? We're about to, start the group, youth, whatever. Mm-hmm. And so she's just like, why do you work so much? And, that's like a question I understand. Why do you work so much? She was like, your parents don't help you or anything? Like, why are you working so much? Why aren't they helping you? And it took everything in me not to reach that phone and smack her in the face because, like, you do not understand the struggle that my family has gone through. And I felt that, like, so much going forward from that moment on, because it's like, this is a girl from the church. Mm-hmm. She's supposed to understand, thou shalt not judge. If she's sitting here judging my family now, like, no one else is going to get it either.
Yeah. And, like, you can always tell, like, when someone, like, they're asking because they want to understand and because, like, they actually care. And then, like, it's all in their tone. Like, you can tell if they're asking just because they're like, oh, well, coming from a judgmental place versus, like, really wanting to know so that they can, like, try to help you. And I think that, like, on campus it's a lot of people that would be like, oh, well, why is this way, coming from a judgmental place, but they're not going to try to help. They're like, they don't deep down inside, they don't care to, like
I've had people ask me before, like, hey, why are you working so much? And, like, being like you said, from their tone, you can tell, like, oh, okay, they
really, like, actually care.
It's like, hey, why are you working so much? Maybe, you should take some time and do this, and, like, what's wrong? Let me know what's happening. Maybe I can help. And in those situations, that's what I thought I was going to get with her. Mm-hmm. And instead I got, you shouldn't be working this much. You need to make more time for this church service, that I can't get to because I actually have to ride with them because I don't have a car. Mm-hmm. So, you need to make more time for this. And, the Lord, you got to make more time for him. And, your parents should be helping you out and they're not helping you. You can't. And, like, you can't just be asking people those kind of questions because for all my parents are dead or something. Exactly. And from that point, I can pinpoint that exact point as the moment where I was just like, these people don't need to know about where I come from because they don't understand. And I think that's, like, what you were saying before about, like, people who make those judgmental kind of statements, they don't understand.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Like, I don't know, personally, like, growing up, it's been times where, like, I went without, like, electricity and, like, water for, like, a good little amount of time, and, like, having to go to school and, like, do homework by, like, candlelight and stuff. And, like, that's stuff that, like, not a lot of people, have been through, which is good for them because, like, no one should have to go through that, honestly.
I wouldn't wish that on anyone.
Yeah, but it's just, like, you have to understand, like, you just have to understand that whenever you're encountering someone that you don't know on a personal level, like, you just always have to be, like, open-minded and then just understand their boundaries. Like, don't try to overstep those boundaries until like, where y'all actually stand as, like, friends or, like, if it's a relationship or anything, like, just always set the boundaries and don't cross them. Just try to be understanding and open-minded.
I think that's super important. Like you were saying, like, who you surround yourself with. Obviously, you don't have to, like, I personally like it being surrounded by, like, people who are kind of from the same background as me. Trio, for example, mm-hmm. Because it makes me feel not as alone.
Yeah.
But when dealing with people from, a low income background, and maybe you haven't struggled as much as someone who's in, like, a position, like someone who may be in trio. Mm-hmm. Like, just how do we advise people in, like, those privileged positions to interact with lower income students and, like, knowing, like, okay, your friend probably can't go out this week because it's either going out to the club or, eating.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would definitely say, like, I think the best way to approach situations like that is like, again, just to be like open-minded, and then just also like look for the signs that are there that like the person could be like lower income, and then just like base your interactions like off of that. Like if they say they can't go out, don't get upset with them. And like if they say like, you know, they have to work this weekend, don't be like, oh, well, why aren't your parents helping you? Like you should just say like, okay, you know, you're working, is there anything I can do to like help make life easier? Because it could be as simple as like you just being there to like talk to them, you know, or like doing something that's free, you know, like
that part, like it costs free 99 to just like sit at someone's house and like watch Netflix.
Exactly. So that's like what I always try to do is like, okay, you know, well, let's go to the park or something, or, you know, like let's go to the art museum because it's free. And when they have exhibits on Friday nights, students, college students get in for free to those. So check those out. But yeah, it's a lot of stuff you can do for free.
There's so much you can do for
that'll
free.
still build like friendship bonds and everything. And so like just understand that, you know, like always have an alternative. Don't expect people to be on the same economic level as you. And I think that's where like a lot of problems arise, because people think like, oh, well, we're all in college, like we have to have some money, but like really no.
You know, like some of us have no money.
Exactly.
Like at all.
Exactly. And so like just, you know, be understanding and don't focus so much on like monetary things. Do things that are free, you know, and because like just be inclusive. Honestly, I think that's a good way to put it. Just be inclusive.
Because I almost find myself, well, not recently, but just like leading up to this place where I am now, I think I'm feeling like a lot more secure in the place where I am now, like being proud of my background a little more and not being so ashamed of it. But definitely in the past, I found myself like not wanting to let people know like, oh, I can't come tonight because, you know, I can't afford it. Like, no, I was going to be there come hell or high water. Like if somebody in my friend group is having a party in their house off campus, well, obviously I can't ask someone for a ride because then they're going to know I don't have a car. So then I have to take a Lyft over there. And so I took the Lyft over there, chilling, hanging out. The entire time I'm, you know, miserable because I'm just like, I just spent, you know, $8 on a Lyft. What's that gonna like? What was that $8 gonna do for me in the future? X, Y, and Z. Mm-hmm. Or I'm stressing about something else. So then I pay another $8 to go back. Or, you know, just in general, just if I'm getting place to place, I'm taking Lyfts places or walking because I'm ashamed that I have to ask someone for a ride, especially if it's a constant kind of thing, where it's like asking the same people over and over and over again. You almost feel like you're a burden to your friends at that point. And so I think that's part of the shame too, where it's like you don't want to be like this leech off of someone, because someone like I've had people just like in high school or, you know, first part of college where there would be someone who wanted to come out, but they needed a ride. And so they were like, hey, can I get picked up? And it's just like the person who's doing the driving just being like, wow, this person always needs a ride somewhere. Like they can't ever get somewhere on their own. And I'm just like, see, that's why I don't like that. I don't like showing that. Yeah. And I think that's a part of like the shame almost, not just so much the judgment, but also feeling like you're a leech to your friends. And if these people are even your friends, or if they, you know, even want you around, if, you know, you can't
depend on them in some way. And like it definitely is something that you do like after a while, like you do start to like internalize it, and then like you almost start to think that like something is wrong with you. Like you start to think that it's like your fault when ultimately it's not. You know, like, you know, again, just like, I don't know, just realize that people are out there. They do care about you and will support you, and then just try to find those people. And then like ultimately struggle is like what will tell you who your real friends are and who aren't.
Ooh, amen. You know? Say that one again. Struggle will tell you who your real friends are. It definitely will. Real quick. It will tattletale on your social life so fast. Because I just got emotional there for half a second. So like when I was literally 12 years old, we got kicked out of our house. couldn't pay the bill anymore. We had gotten so far behind in payments. It was just like, okay, look, you guys got to get out. Like we had nowhere to stay, like at all. I'm 12 years old. Like where are we going to go? So for 2 years, my family split up because my mom, she went to, she stayed with her mom. My dad decided to go out on the road. That's when, he became a truck driver. I know you mentioned before that your dad was a truck driver too. Yeah. So that's something we have in common. My dad decided to go out on the road because, that was one of the only jobs like hiring at the time. He had just lost like this job that he'd had for like 15 plus years. Oh, wow. And so yeah, he went on the road. He was sleeping in his truck, basically, like living out of his truck. Yeah, and then me and my sister, we just kind of house hopped because like both of our parents were gone for like a year and a half, something like that. So we house hopped. We went from like my grandmother's house to over to like a friend's house. I would have to stay with my friends some nights because I was still going to a school that was in a different state at the time. And so I would stay with my friends. But that was the thing. That's when you learn like who are your friends when you're really going through something. Yeah. Because I would ask friends, I'm just like, is it okay if I stay here for a little while? And while I did get some friends, you know, who were able to help me out, I got like this one girl who to this day I still consider my sister. Her family let us stay there for a minute, but there were some friends who were just like, you know, not supportive at all. And when we had to move, because obviously we can't go to the school in this state now because, you know, I don't have a home address here. Yeah. So we moved into my mom's grandmother's house. And that was our home address there. And so we stayed there and started going to school in Wadesboro. We started going to school there, and people were just like, my friends, people who I thought for sure were like friends I would keep for a lifetime, were mad because I'd moved. And I was like, for a moment, I almost fed into that anger of just being like being mad at my parents. Like, why did we have to move? Like, my friends, they're here. I want to be there with them. But those people didn't support me at all because the second I was out of sight and the second I needed help, they weren't there like for support. Yeah. Like every time I wanted to just be like, hey guys, I miss you guys. Why don't you guys like, can we just hang out or something? And it's just like, oh no, you know, you can't do this obviously. And we're going here and you don't have a car or anything. So I'm just like,
that's, you know, very inconsiderate.
Yeah. And so it's like, you learn so fast who your friends are. Yeah. Because the second you need help, the ones who were there, those are your friends. The ones who turn away from you because it's a little inconvenient, nah.
Yeah. And like for me, luckily, like I was blessed. In like the small town that I'm from, like we only had like one middle school and one high school. So either way, like no matter where I stayed, I would still go to the same like middle school and then or like high school. And so luckily, like I had a few friends, like one in particular. We've been friends since like kindergarten. And she's just like always been there for me. Like when I didn't have a car, like she would help me. Like she would take me places and like vice versa. So it is possible to have those friends. And so like when you find them, like you just really have to like cherish that.
And that's the place that I'm trying to find myself at right now, because I know I'm at the point in my life right now where I'm meeting people who I'm close to, who I care about, and who I pray care about me. So it's getting to the point now where we're getting older, things are getting more expensive. Yeah. And stuff like, cars and apartments are becoming necessities. So those friends who won't be ashamed of me, or that I won't feel ashamed like I'm weighing them down or, being a leech or anything else like that, and seeing which one of these people, if if they are there, that actually care about me, whether I've got money or not.
Yeah. It is. I mean, it's definitely like, it's something hard to come across in like the college environment, because I think like for a while, a lot of people are like pretending to be people that they aren't. And then like eventually,
most certainly,
like eventually everyone does get to the point where they're like, okay, well, this is me. Like, this is who I am. Like, hate it or love it, I'm here. And so like, that's kind of where I'm at now. And so I'm kind of just like, still too just trying to find like a good, solid group of people that I know, like, do you honestly like care about me? And then like, will be in my future, because I'm not the type of person to have like just short like, oh yeah, like we're friends and then the next day we're not. Like,
yeah,
I like friendship is something that I really like value, and so like I don't know, I prefer like long friendships, like you're gonna be at my wedding and
like, and you're gonna be in my life 10-15 years from now
and stuff like that.
I feel that's really important to me, like those relationships like that's super important to me, because family is super important to me. And once you've been my friend for so long, you are family to me.
Exactly.
And there were friends that I had back in the day that I thought for sure were going to be in my life for the rest of my life. And the second that I started struggling, the second I'm like, hey, I can't go out, my parents, we didn't have a car for like a hot second. Like, we would just have to get around as best as we could. Can't hang out tonight because, we need to buy groceries and my check has to pay for that instead of like going roller skating or something like that. Mm-hmm. So, the second that struggle came up, friends started dropping like flies. I'm at the point now where I need to know if the people I'm hanging around with are okay with the fact that I don't have what they have. Mm-hmm. Like, just having friends, a support system at the root of it all. Mm-hmm. And I think that's really the key to feeling, not so alone on an elite campus like NC State, because it's very, very posh here. Yeah. Like, this isn't a campus where you're going to run into too many low income kind of students. Not. So just having like, not just friends, but like friends that love you, friends that like will support you. And that's what you need to have on this campus. And so I guess just going forward, to anyone who's maybe feeling like super ashamed of where they come from, or, the background they come from, or the fact that they maybe don't have as much as their friends have, or maybe you're comparing yourself to them and like where they're at socially, economically, and everything else, and like where you're at, you have to surround yourself with people who aren't going to judge you. Yeah. You have to surround yourself with people who understand or are willing to try to learn to be able to understand. And, if you can't find a group of people who are from the same background as you, because obviously you can't always surround yourself with, the same people, like the same demographic of people. Mm-hmm. If you do find a group of people that, are a little more privileged than you are, they just have to be able to understand that you are not cut from the same cloth.
Yeah. And then if you're like wondering like how to discern like who's really there for you, like honestly, it's just going to take a lot of like honesty and openness. Like you're just going to have to tell them like, well, this is like my background. And like, that's something that like, I can say it now, but it was something that was like really hard for me. Because there were like things from my childhood that like, I just now this year, like told some of my closest friends. And so like, I don't know, you just have to, I guess, just be prepared, and like whatever happens, just know that like, at the end of the day, like you're being true to yourself, and like, if they have a problem with that, then they probably just weren't there for you to begin with,
And to be honest, it's going to be hard knowing that some of those people don't care about you as much as you thought you did. But honestly, you don't need people like that around. If they're going to sit here and judge you, judge your situation, judge your family, judge like an essential part of who you are, cut it loose.
And then, like, just another, like, quick resource that I want to mention is the counseling center. You can get free therapy sessions, like, for the whole year. Like, they have a certain amount that you can get for free. And they also have, like, counseling groups, small groups that are very helpful. I was doing both of those for a while, and they helped me substantially. So if you ever feel like you don't have anyone there for you, or you just want someone that you don't know, because, like, I feel like, you know, people that I don't really know, like a therapist, I can just say whatever to them because, like, they're not going to judge me. So if that's something that resonates with you, like, just know that they are there for you. And if you just want someone to vent, I would suggest going there. Or, you know, if you want someone to practice on, like, practice with them, and then, you know, try it out with your real friends.
And there's no shame in that either.
It's not. It's absolutely not. You know, like I said, I was going for like a year, over a year probably. I was going to individual therapy and group counseling. And it was, like, honestly one of the best things that I've ever done. At the time that I started going, I was, like, in this big transition phase, and, like, I really just didn't know myself, you know, honestly. And so, like, I started going to therapy, and it was great. Like, it was really good. One of the best things that I've ever done.
And I can, like, just from talking with you, I can see where those sessions have helped you tremendously, because the person you are, you're very open, you're very vocal, you're, like, able to, you know, let people know this is me. You can either handle it or not. Yeah. And so I want to get to that place of just being like, hey, you know what? There's $5 in my account right now, and it's probably going to be like that for the next 2 weeks till I get paid again. So, like, you know, I want to get to the point in my life where I'm just like, I come from a low income background, and I'm not ashamed of it. And I don't want to feel ashamed of it, like, ever again. Mm-hmm. So basically, I guess that was the point of this episode, just letting people know that you can be low income and fit in on a campus like this. Yeah. And I think once you get over the shame of being low income, being from a low income background, what's going to help you then is knowing that you can ask for help. Yeah. Because I think I got over that first hurdle, like, maybe the middle of the fall semester, roughly. Mm-hmm. And that's when I was like, okay, anytime I need anything, I can just go to Sarah or, like, Dawn or Courtney or something, you know. And that's why I feel Trio has done so much for me since I got here. Like, they gave me an on-campus job, for one thing. Yeah. Like, bless them for that, because you don't know how many jobs I've tried to work off campus with no car, taking 3-4 buses to get there, and then 2-3 to get back, to be back in time for, like, rehearsals for, like, theater or meetings that I had at the radio station or something like that. And I wasn't making enough money to be doing that. Yeah. You know, I was eating up my check taking the bus for so long. Or, like, if I was running a little late, if I had a class, like, right before work, I would have to take, like, a $13-14 lift just to get to these, like, jobs that I had to work. So they gave me an on-campus job. You know, they gave me a community that I could feel safe and comfortable being myself in. Like, Trio isn't going to be like, hey, we're going to the aquarium. The trip costs, you know, $70. And they're going to make sure that you get there. Like. Yeah. You have to have your own transportation, bring your own food, or have money for food or something like, no, Trio is going to make sure that if I want to, like, just be social, that I have a way to get there. Yeah. Everyone's welcome to come. Like, we're all just chilling, hanging out, and everyone's themselves. And I want to feel like myself everywhere I go, not just in Trio. Yeah. And I mean, it is, like, you know, it is just something that comes with time, but, you know, things do get better. Like, my freshman year, like, I remember having to just eat rice. Like, I was so hungry one day. I literally, like, I was staying on campus in Wolf Village over the summer, and I didn't have any food, didn't have money to buy food. And, like, I literally just had rice in the fridge.
And to make it worse, like, I didn't even know how to cook it. So it was like, I was sitting there trying to eat it, and it was just like crunchy still. And I was just like, wow. Like, well, okay, this is my life now. But things definitely do get better. You just have to, like, any opportunity that's given to you of people trying to be there for you, just, try to take it. And it's going to take time. That's the biggest thing. But allow yourself that time. Know that it's nothing wrong with you. Like, it's nothing wrong with you.
And don't let these people shame you into thinking that there is.
Exactly.
Because I've gotten to a point now where I'm just like, if I can't afford to do something, if I can't afford to go somewhere, if I'm just like, I'm going to chill in my own house.
Yeah.
And
I'm going to study. I'm going to get a good grade in this class.
Yeah.
How about that?
How about that? Like, do not let anyone shame you into, like, feeling less than. Yeah, because just because your parents make less money or just because you make less money does not mean that you are lesser than anybody else on this campus, because you got into NC State.
Yeah, you did.
Just like them.
They don't just let anyone in here. And so just always, keep that in mind, and just know that one day, like, you are going to put yourself and your children in a better position because you are here at NC State. And so just, keep that hope in you.
That's why we're all here. We're all here to try and make just like a better life for ourselves than the one that we lived. God knows. Yes. I do not want my kids going through what I went through. And that's why I'm here, and that's why I'm going to keep going.
Yeah. And the sad thing is, like, that's something that, like, I've always thought, like, growing up, I would really just, like, sit sometimes and just be like, I really just, I don't want, anyone to experience this, let alone my children. And so, like, I don't know. That's just why I work so hard now. And because I just can't have them go through.
Yeah. That's literally. Honestly. Yeah. So I have, like, a lot of resources here that Sarah gave me for this episode about, like stuff like housing insecurity, food insecurity, financial insecurity, and then, like, social pressure surrounding some of those issues. There are so many resources that we have on campus. Do you know any, like, when it comes to, like, some of those problems like housing, food insecurity, like what resources do you have that you would, like, maybe just want to share?
Okay, well, like, the main one is just, like, the food stamps, because I thankfully received them. Sarah, she helped me to, like, apply for them and get them, and then she also put me in contact with someone else on campus that was, like, very crucial in helping me to apply and get approved. So definitely,
You think I won't be on food stamps this summer? Sarah's gonna help me.
Exactly. Like,
exactly.
It is so, I will pull out that card in a heartbeat because.
And, like, I want you to look at me any kind of way with it when I go to the grocery store.
Because the thing is, like, it just takes so much pressure off of you. Like, I was literally, like, I'm working this part-time job now that I hate. And I'm about to quit because, I can't keep being unhappy. I'm too young to be unhappy at work.
Too young.
And so I just decided I'm going to quit. And, like, I just found myself sitting there being like, well, how am I going to pay for this? How am I going to pay for that? And then I remembered, like, okay, well, on this day every month, I'm going to get my food stamps. So at least I won't have to worry about food. And so I just want y'all to know, like, it's resources out there, that you shouldn't be ashamed to use because, it's taking care of you. Like, it will honestly take away one of your biggest worries.
And that's why I was like, this summer, I, like, between rent in this apartment, trying to live in Raleigh, I have a job and an internship and some stuff happening over the summer, but not enough to, like, take care of everything that I need. Yeah. So Sarah was just like, hey, I just helped Aalanah with food stamps. I can help you too. I'm like, bet, because I'm not going hungry and I'm not going to be ashamed of it either.
No, there's no need to be ashamed.
For years, I spent just being ashamed of, any time that my mom had her food stamp card, like, trying to, like, just feed us. Yeah. And I would, like, try and, like, be a little farther ahead somewhere.
And never tell your friends, like,
Yeah, and just, like, being scared of people judging me, knowing that people would, because I know how people talk about people on food stamps. I know how people talk about people on Medicaid, but I don't got a copay, do you?
Exactly.
So, I mean, anything to help, honestly, you learn real quick. Shame don't feed you.
It doesn't. And then just one quick thing, because I'm on Medicaid too, and if you have Medicaid, whatever problems you have, get them taken care of now while you're on Medicaid. While they will cover it.
Yeah, because I don't have too much longer.
Yeah, be sure. I think they cover you as long as you're in college, or like up until you graduate, or until you turn like 21 or 22. But yeah, the point of me saying that is to take advantage of it. You know, don't be afraid to, like, if you don't have health insurance, try to apply for Medicaid. You might get approved, and use it. Use it.
And in the description, I'm going to be putting like a lot of links to like some of these resources that you can get in contact with and read about if you need them. I am also available to talk to if anyone needs it. I am actually officially a peer mentor for Trio now.
Oh, wow. Congratulations.
Yeah. So I want to help incoming students, or even students that are already here, in the way that I've been helped this year, because I didn't have that my freshman year. I didn't have that my sophomore year. Like I was just really sitting here struggling, not knowing that help was okay to ask for and not be ashamed to do it. So yeah, I am available to talk if anyone needs it, but just know the whole point of this is just knowing you are not alone. You don't need to feel ashamed. And honestly, we're all going to get through this together one way or another.
We will. One day at a time. Just take it one day at a time. And before I go, there is this one restaurant that I wanted to mention. It's called A Place at the Table, and it's like a pay what you can cafe in downtown Raleigh. And so, like, the way it works, the food is actually pretty good. I've been there before. And so, like, you just go in and they have like this, they have suggested prices on the menu. But if you can't pay that, you just pay what you can, and then you can volunteer to make up for like the extra time or the extra money. You can just volunteer, like help clean tables and stuff. And so it's definitely like, if you're hungry, like go there and you can volunteer in exchange for a meal. And so just so everyone is aware of that resource too. Just, you know, love yourself and understand that, you know, things do get better. It's going to take time. If you're not happy with the place where you are, it's going to take time for you to be happy with that. But just use the resources that are available to you and just love yourself and understand that other people do love and care about you too.
Yes. And find that group that is going to love and care about you. I guess I just want to finish out by saying that just know that your struggles, they're not something, you know, to be ashamed of. Wear them like, you know, battle wounds, like flaunt those scars off, because you are here now and you made it.
Yeah.
So it's like, don't worry about people judging you. Don't worry about like trying to, fit in with a group of people, because like they don't know where you've come from, but you do. So just keep going. And there's always someone here around to help you out.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Aalanah, thank you so much for, coming here and, sharing your stories and being like in that really vulnerable place with me and with the listeners.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me. I definitely, enjoy myself tonight. And so I just hope I hope this podcast can help someone. That's ultimately what I'm here for.
Okay. Thank you so much.
TRIO Student Support Services Program and Student Support Services STEM are federally funded college retention and completion programs. These programs focus on academic, personal, and career support for under-resourced undergraduate students. At TRIO SSS and SSS STEM, our goal is helping our students reach their goals. We are currently accepting new students to our program. Apply today. Go to www.ncsu.edu to learn more about student support services at NC State.